Hey everybody, this is John Redcorn, King of the Hill, and you're listening to and watching You Suck. Do me a favor, don't touch that channel. Don't change it, don't take it like you did my land.
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to USUK's What's the Difference podcast with me, Alex Whiteley.
And me, Tom Bruno.
How's it going? Well, thank you very much for joining us. Today, we're bringing someone. See, Tom wrote to me. That sounded so like pre-internet, didn't it? He wrote to me. He wrote me a letter. He said to me, I'd love to speak to a CEO of sorts and talk about sort of how COVID has affected a big business. And I was like, oh, I know just the guy. And I did write to Dave, who is our guest, Dave Courteen. Thank you very much for joining us, Dave.
It's great. Thanks for being along. It's nice to be known as a CEO of sorts. That's how you described me. So
well, the way that. Tom wanted Bezos on the show, and I was kind of like,
Bezos, we don't want him. Well, don't say that around David. So actually, I love how much credit you give me in comparison to what I really said. What I really said was, these are the type of people I'd like to get on the show, and I would like someone that's environmentalist. I'd like a political figure someone that I can resonate to. I'd like to speak to a couple CEOs. And Alex turns it into like something far more beautiful than I would have, eloquent, in fact, more than I would have ever talked. Blah. Blah.
words, Bruno. That's what we do.
Words
in this
and things, things and stuff.
Yeah.
Apparently, I have too much sleep in me because I can't put two thoughts together any longer. Or it's the fact that I literally just spent the last hour like cooking and eating pizza, so my brain's all like dough fried.
I don't know where I stand with you at the moment, Bruno, because the old days, Dave, he would have had a few joints and he'd been like, hey, welcome to the show. Whereas now he's kind of just woken up from a night shift or had too much sleep, apparently. That's how things go.
Too much.
So I did write
too much
Dave,
pizza.
Too much pizza. So much pizza. I like making my pizza more than I like buying pizza for a couple of reasons. One of them obviously money. Two, you get a little more appreciation out of your food when you make it yourself. And I've become quite the pizza chef. I'm pretty proud of my creations.
Tom, you'd love it over here. Then I have to tell you, in my garden we have an outdoor pizza oven that my wife built. And so throughout the summer, we regularly at the weekend have pizzas from the wood-fired oven in our garden. How about that? So
now, is it that's awesome. First of all, I love when people do that type of stuff because we should have those type of things in our garden, in our backyard, and they're communal places to bring people and be like, hey, let's enjoy a meal together. And I love that, first of all. Second of all, is it a brick oven or is it a clay oven pizza oven?
Built on brick, but then clay over the top. So yeah, brilliant. brick plinth, clay over the top. Absolutely, yeah.
Top notch.
Done the right way. Apparently, it was all our own work. It was all our own project. I had nothing to do with it. So, but I just eat the pizza. I just eat the pizzas that come out of it. It's absolutely wonderful. So there you go.
Everyone's like, "This great pizza," and you're like, I did so much for it.
There must be something in the air because we made home-baked pizzas as well today.
Oh,
really?
Yeah. So this is something that the planets have aligned. We planned this yesterday as well. We're like, let's go and get some dough. We bought store-bought dough because
nothing wrong with that. Yeah. So well, funnily enough, I said to the wife, I was like, it's my couple days off. And with my couple days off, I want to learn how to make good dough. Like I got this amazing standing mixer for Christmas and I really want to get more use out of it. It's a beautiful device. And she likes to support everything I do, but I think she took that being like, he's not going to want to do that. He's going to get halfway through his day and be like, I don't want to make dough. That's stupid. Buy me dough. So she bought me dough because she's a smart lady. And I made pizzas out of that. But I promise everyone that's listening, ask me in about a month how my dough is coming out because I'm going to learn how to make it. I want to make bread. Like I need to harness that baking quality that's inside of me that I'm just not using enough of.
Yeah, no, we do all the own dough and all the own bread here as well. So there we are. We're slightly ahead of you there. Yeah, it's great. There's nothing better than creating the dough from scratch, and then we have a central line in our kitchen, all laid out with all the different toppings. Put the toppings on, then take it out into the garden in the summer, and make your own pizzas. Great way of doing it.
So with you being as, artistic as you are in the kitchen, how do you find time to be a CEO of a company, Dave?
No. Let me just be really clear. That's my wife that's creative in the kitchen. I am just a consumer of what she does. So yeah, no, I wouldn't dare take any credit. But she does enjoy kind of the whole dough making. You've got to make it well ahead of when you want your pizzas, and then it goes in the boiler cupboard so as it rises nicely. And yeah, perfect.
Yeah, my mate James was making pizza as well today. This is what I'm saying. Like, you sent me a message, hey, I'm making pizza too, and he's got the dough rising in like an airing cupboard or something. I don't know, a towel over it.
Yeah, it's exactly right. You need
anyway, we Tom can hear us. He stepped away. He can hear us. He's got his headphones on. But I brought you on here because I was amazed by you. I brought you on the biscuit, and you've got a fantastic story. When someone's made something with their bare hands, they've created something that's turned out to be a success, I can find nothing but inspiration about that. So since we spoke last time, I've been learning a lot off people that have come on my show and about how to present myself and how to move forward and things. And I really do think you got a good story to tell. But then the way I worded it was, Dave, do you want to come and talk about the pain and misery you've been going through for COVID? And you're like, yeah, okay, might as well. We're not doing anything else. So I think the way we should do this is talk about sort of Mosaic and sort of how you started that and how it all came to be. Your first steps into creating your own business. What was that all like for you?
Yeah, sure. So I was at uni and I met up with a good mate. We became great mates through the uni years, and we just decided that we wanted to have a go at running our own business. So we set Mosaic up nearly 34 years ago now, and we saw an opportunity to basically provide management services, primarily initially to hotels, to run health clubs and day spas in the hotels and provide them with the complete package, the staff, the operating systems, and everything else. And like anything with an idea, you need a bit of a breakthrough, and we got lucky. We got a bit of a break, and we picked up a contract to run a gym initially, and then that brought out to a health club and a hotel in the east of England, in Norfolk, which is really quite rural location, and in the east of England in the UK, and one site, 3 staff, and I guess over a period of time, just by kind of trying to manage the growth over a period of time, we've grown that over that time into a business that now turns over £10 million, has 450 staff, and runs 25 sites across the UK, primarily still in hotels, but we have 2 standalone sites that we own, freehold sites as well, that aren't attached to hotels, that are just health clubs and day spas. One of which is in the home of the Biscuit. I love the Biscuit podcast. It keeps me in touch with Shrewsbury, and so that's how I know Al, through the connection with Shrewsbury, because we own what's called the Shrewsbury Club, and it's a big standalone health club, rackets centre. We've got 6 indoor courts and a spa, and very family oriented club with 4,500 members. And then we own another one down in Hereford. So that's a big part of our business. But we still do the contract management. So that's our story really. Started with 3 of us and 1 site, and over that time we've grown. But like all businesses, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. There've been highs, there've been lows, there've been challenges. There's been some changes in sort of personnel and the structure along the way. But as ever with businesses, they're a living thing, and they go through good times and bad times. And right now, obviously, we're pretty challenged because we're no longer a £10 million turnover business. We're a 0 turnover business because we're shut, and we're in lockdown here in the UK, and therefore all our clubs are shut, and all bar 4 of our 400 staff are furloughed, and we're just waiting for the green light to get back open again. But so it's tough, but we've been through tough times before, and our job is to make sure that we get through this period so that we come out the other side and can carry on doing what we were doing before all this madness of a pandemic was around.
Because owning a business is tough for all the reasons that you outlined. I mean, these are all common things that that take place any given day of any business day. It's like you said, it's a living thing. But then you get this wrench thrown in there, which nobody saw coming. I mean, people have always said, "Oh, what about the plague?" Blah blah. But I mean, generally speaking, we're creatures that see tomorrow, not 10 years in the future. So this never popped up on anyone's radar. And now a business is very much, dependent on the fact that people might be walking by, like, oh, a health club, let's go get in for a couple minutes. Or they might buy like a season's pass or something along those lines where they, plan on going once, twice, 3 times a week. Now your business is completely, stopped everything about it, and you're left in the lurch. And that must be, crazy difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it's I love there's a number of great memes and things that have been around on social media, but I love the one that I saw the other day that said, I think it's great that in 2015 absolutely nobody answered, where do you see yourself in 5 years, correctly. So nobody got that right. But I think listen, you've got to roll with what's going on. And of course we couldn't see this. I mean, we are fortunate in that we were in a position going into this where we were quite strong financially. We had some reasonable resources about us. And so we quite quickly, I think with any of these things, when you're in these difficult situations, you've just got to focus on the things that you can control. I can't control what's going to happen, how this COVID-19 variants are going to affect us. I can't control the decisions the government are going to make, whether I think they're right or wrong. They're outside of my control. So I've got to focus on the things that I can control. So what can I control? Well, I can control the cash in our business. So the first job that we had to do was preserve cash. So when you're in a crisis, number one, preserve cash, because you always need to keep that for as long as possible. Job number one. Job number two is that, our product is our people effectively. We're a service business. So it's the people that we employ are critical. So number two, I've got to really work hard to look after the staff, make sure they still feel valued. It feels really odd for them because they're all just stuck at home, and it's kind of like, well, what do I do, and how do we keep them connected? So we've got a staff app that we had. So last summer, we ran our lockdown Olympics through our staff app and got people to do loads of different activities, etc., to just try and make sure they still felt part of the Mosaic team. Thirdly, we've got our customers. So we've done a number of things to try and stay connected with our members and our customers, largely through social media. But the one thing we can do is we can stay in touch with them. We can let them know that we're missing them. Can't wait for them to come back, that we want to look after them. We're putting online classes on our social media sites and on our website so they can keep active. And so we still feel like we're providing them with a service. Then we're going to look after the facilities, because actually, health clubs are buildings that are designed to be open and used pretty much not quite 24/7, but probably 14 hours a day, but certainly 7 days a week. They're never designed to be shut for a long period of time. So actually looking after them and closing them is a real challenge, because actually the mechanics of the building are designed to operate all the time. The air conditioning, all those kind of things, the pool plant system, it's designed to be running the whole time. So we've had to think about how we look after the facilities. And so those are the things that we can control. So that's really been our game plan since last March the 20th, when we were put into the first lockdown. We're in lockdown 3 here in the UK now. So the first lockdown happened back in March, and since then we've really been, that's been our focus. That's been how we've tried to run our business, and in that priority order that I've described: cash first, staff second, members third, facilities fourth. Those are the things that we've been doing to keep ourselves going.
I gotta commend you on your creativity that you harnessed during this whole thing, because it'd be very easy for you to just say, well, the government shut us down, so what are we supposed to do, and not put the thought process into your clients, and not put the care into your into your workers and such. It's very easy to go stagnant, and it's very easy to just kind of put up your hands and say, well, what am I going to do? But instead, you your mind together with your fellow employees, and you're like, what can we do to continue the good work that we're doing now? And I gotta say, that's admirable.
We can't all create an $89 billion nest egg to retire on.
Wow, David. Jeez.
Not
you, David. Sorry. That we have a guy that does podcasting with us named David. And he's very much against Jeff Bezos. So I just want to throw that out there when this is not directed towards you, Dave. This is towards a different David. The Mexican Jesus, as we call him.
I was gonna say, Tom, no, calm down. I was gonna say, by the way, Dave, when I found out sort of right in the midst of lockdown that because of where I work, I could get access to the Shrewsbury Club for like £10 a month or something like that. I was like, no way! I found out when it's closed that I can actually use one of the clubs I've always been wanting to use. So I can't. And by the way, when you said about the meme about 5 years' time, where will you be? I dreamt I'd be getting fat, sitting on a sofa watching Star Wars, and that's what I'm doing, right? So I definitely need a gym. I'll definitely be needing a gym, and so will many, because during lockdown, there's a lot of people that have just indulged in having that time to sit around and slob around. There have been people out there getting fit, like I see you on Facebook, Dave. You've been running and making me feel guilty as heck. Keeping physical.
Well, I think it's difficult, right, isn't it? Because I mean, the first lockdown was largely going into the summer, so the evenings were light, and it was a lot easier over here in the UK to therefore stay active whilst we were in lockdown. And it didn't feel quite so bad because the evenings were light, etc. But I found this one. We went into lockdown here in January, and I found this one so much tougher because actually, I can't walk the dog before I start work, which was my thing that I did last time round. I've got to save my going for runs to the weekend because I can't do that either. I live in a remote place, so there's no street lights here, and you can't run therefore when it's dark. So, or go out for a walk even. So it's just actually getting outside has been challenging this time around. So I think a lot more people have found it more difficult, and yeah, it's tough. So we all need things to look forward to.
Me and my boy went and covered a couple of miles at the weekend, and it was when the floods had happened in Shrewsbury again. And we went for a walk down Mill Brace Golf Club, and the floods were that bad. We turned one way and it'd be flooded, and we'd be like, oh, can't go that way. And then we go another way and it'd be flooded. Oh, we can't go that way. So we just went around in a massive circle. It was just crazy. There's a lot more challenges this time of year. And Tom has like 5 days of summer over there in Vermont. He practically lives in Mordor. Like 10.
I get like 10. I get like 10 days of summer, and they're really good 10 days of summer, man. It's so fantastic. And then it snows again. Vermont, I understand what you're saying, Dave. I live in a very, very rural area, to the point where, like, if I want to like walk to a store, it's like a 20-30 minute process. There's nothing close here, but that's kind of what I pay for, right? I wanted to live away from everything else. I had an opportunity to live in a much more established place, but this is, this type of environment has given my family room to grow. So that's why I feel it's better. And it always inspires more creativity, because instead of just having things, laid at our feet for things to do every day, we got to make our own fun. We got to be like, all right, well, let's go hiking today. Okay, well, let's go swimming today. Okay, well, let's go tubing today. Let's do these things. And usually we'd be out doing winter sports, but we've been just hammered with snow, and nobody wants to go get lost in the woods in the middle of a snowstorm. Not advised.
I think we're grateful. So we live in really rural as well, and I think we're grateful in lockdown because actually it is a lot easier to get out. I mean, what it must be like to live in the center of a town or a city where it's much more difficult to get out and not avoid people, which is obviously the critical thing when we're in this situation. It must be really difficult. So yeah, I think we've been grateful too for our location, and I'm very envious in Vermont. That's a beautiful part of the world, and
thank you.
You might not be able to go for a run, but you can go skiing, man. So I
can go for a run. The only people that judge me are deer. They just look at me like, look at that asshole, not wearing your mask when you walk, you heathen. And then they go back to pooping in the middle of the open. Freaking deer, so judgmental.
Yeah, I tell you what, though, it's really affected my I'm not agoraphobic, but like now when I'm around people, I'm kind of like, Like keep you. We went to the range, right? We desperately.
Hope you got your mask on if you're deep breathing like that.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't be seen dead without my mask in the store. I don't want to be judged. Okay, I'd rather die of COVID myself than be judged. You know. But we were desperate for storage, right? We just moved into a new place. Timmy's stuff was just all around this room. We needed stuff, and the range was open, so we thought, if the range is open, we're gonna go. But we got there. There was a few people in there, but as we were coming towards the end of what we got, they just seemed to let way too many people in, and I was kind of like, "This is weird, man." It was just like a normal kind of Saturday shop before COVID, you know. And I just didn't like it, man. It's really affected how I am around people now, and I think that's not going to change either. I think it's going to always be like that now.
Well, I hope we can get back to it though, because I mean, I love my sport, and there's nothing better than myself and my daughter. We got a season ticket to our local football club, and there's nothing we love more than going to watch them play, and that's a great fun activity that we have. Yeah. But obviously, when you're coming out, you're out there with 12,000-15,000 people milling about, and that just seems a bit of a long lost memory now. But I really hope we can get back to that before too long, because I think the atmosphere of live sports and live music, you can't recreate that. You've got to, you can only experience that with people getting together. So I get at the moment why it's really important that we are kind of isolated, etc. But we were born to be in community. That's we as humans, we're created to live in community. So that's why this is so tough for so many people, is that we're forced into isolation, and so many people are kind of living on their own. There's an amazing stat that more people now live in single person households is the biggest number of households. So in other words, there are more people living on their own than there are people living in twos or threes or fours, and that's the first time that's ever happened in human history. So that in itself has created issues around loneliness and mental health before we got into lockdown. It's why places like health clubs that I run and coffee shops that kind of started with Starbucks in the States, but there's now a whole range of coffee shops. That's why they are so much become a place that people want to go to, because it's a place where we can go to have community. And I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see how we kind of get back to that, because I think no matter what anybody says, there's a lot of debate in my industry, for example, about, well, will people want to come back and join health clubs? Because actually they'll all been used to exercising online and their videos online. And over here, we've got a guy called Joe Wicks that's become incredibly popular, and millions of people work out with him in the morning, and he's done a fantastic job. He's absolutely brilliant. But will people want to come back to health clubs? Yeah, of course they will. And the reason is because actually they want the sociability. They want to be working out with other people. They want to do a class, and they want to have a chat, and they want to go and have coffee afterwards, and they want to talk to their instructor and look them in the eye. They don't want their instructor coming down a screen to them. So I'm convinced that's the case, and it'll be interesting to see what we kind of go back to and what things we don't go back to. And I think that's going to be interesting. But I am convinced that places like coffee shops and hotels and bars and restaurants and health clubs will be full as soon as we're allowed to kind of go back, because people will be desperate for that kind of sense of community.
And I love to just take my laptop, throw on these cans, and completely ignore everyone, but be around people and just sit and edit. It sounds daft, but I just like that. It's just nice just to be around people while I'm doing my thing, because otherwise I'm sat at home alone. So
yeah, no, likewise. I always call my second office is Starbucks coffee shop, because wherever I am, I'll pop in there and do some work. So more so than the office at work.
And there's something to be said about the accountability of being part of a group and working out as a group of people, because like it's one thing if you're like, oh, like let's just put in the sense of New Year's resolutions. All right, I resolved to work out 3 times a week, and you say that to yourself, and you tell your cat that or whatever, and you start to go at it pretty hard the first couple of weeks, and then you kind of lose a little interest. Something gets busy, and all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I'm not doing nearly what I said to. But if there's a group of people and you brag about it and you're like, man, I love doing this. This makes me feel so good. And I love being with you guys. What a great community that we've built. And they're like, you're going to be back tomorrow, right? And you're like, yeah. And they're more than likely to actually show up tomorrow because they don't want to let their friends down. They don't want to lose face to people. But when you're just by yourself, who are you going to lose face to? No one. You only have yourself to hold accountable. So I also feel that the sense of community gives you a sense of drive as well.
Absolutely.
I have got to ask though, because when it comes to sort of running a business like yours, there's got to be sort of things you put in place to keep yourself from becoming complacent, to keep yourself motivated, to keep maintaining a business, to growing a business. That's kind of after you say 35 years. That's got to be something that's inbuilt in you, right? So during this lockdown period, when you're doing nothing, how do you switch that off?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, Al, actually, I'm one of the 4 people in my business that have not been furloughed. So actually for me right now, it's pretty busy because actually I'm sort of keeping everything going. So actually, whether that be coming up with the ideas for what we're doing on our social media and keeping us interactive with our members, whether that be kind of the strategies of how we're going to retrain our staff around reopening. And we're investing quite heavily now in some training for our gym instructors to understand how people get back into fitness and exercise when they're suffering from COVID, and particularly the long-term effects of COVID. I mean, there's a number of people that are really struggling with not COVID, but the other problems that COVID creates in them with their bodies. So we're doing some research and some work with some medical doctors and scientists and exercise physiologists to train our staff up. So plus there's the whole managing our accounts and making sure that we're on top of that. So actually for me, I've continued to be really busy, just doing different stuff to what I would normally do. I think it's, for anybody, it's my job as sort of the leader is to try and ensure that I become the guy that helps people stay positive and stay motivated, and do that in a number of ways, with the way that we communicate with our staff through letters and various different things. So I think for me, it's just making sure that I kind of find a way to fill up my positivity tanks, and I find a way to be able to switch off from the day-to-day stuff of work. And I've done something, as I think you picked up on now when we had the conversation over Facebook, and something that you guys will really relate to. So me and a couple of my mates have in lockdown, we decided we'd start our own podcast. So we've done what you guys have done, and we've created a podcast, and that's been great for me as a complete switch off, something completely different to work, and just a different focus. And it's enabled me to just recharge my tanks, so to speak, and maintain a positivity. So yeah, I think it's, aside from work, it's important to have routine in what is a very different day. So I've sort of created routine around my day now, and my children are homeschooling because all the schools are shut here at the moment. So we kind of have lunch. So we all take our lunch together, and we've created a bit of routine in the day and around what we do. And I think that's been important. And I think despite the fact that I'm pretty busy with work, that I've needed to create other things that I can actually do that keep me focused and realigned and kind of positive. So yeah, for me, you're going to relate to this, boys, but podcasting is has been one of the things that I've done.
It's very powerful. It's a very powerful thing. I mean, what's your process? Do you like to just whack on the mic and shoot the shit, or do you like to write down a plan of what you'd like to say? Because
we're probably a little more structured than you boys, which is just how we do that. So we've decided, so we call it the Waggle Dance podcast, and it's the Waggle Dance is a dance that's done by the honeybee when it goes back into the hive to try and tell the other bees where to find the things they need to survive and thrive, like food and nectar and that kind of stuff. And so our idea is that we just chat about different topics, and we've hit a particular topic. So the first series we did, series of 6, was called "What's the One Thing I Need to Know About Being a Great?" And that was the title. And then we had so one was about being a great friend, one was about being a great leader, One was about being a great dad. We even tackled, as middle-aged guys, what's the one thing we need to talk about, being a great lover. That's an interesting one, isn't it? So there you go. But so we did a series of 6. So we are structured around that. But no, the great thing is that we don't. So there's 3 of us. We all come with our own ideas of what we're going to talk about on that particular topic, but we don't share them. So when we switch the mics on, we start chatting. We've got no idea what the others are going to say. So that's our kind of style of doing the podcast. And so we do prep for it, but we don't share what we've prepped, and then we kind of have a proper debate about the different things that we've talked about. So it's been great fun.
We try not to tell each other what we want to talk about sometimes, but sometimes we get too excited because we know we're going to make each other laugh or bring up some really good conversation. So I'm not going to tell you everything I'm going to say, Alex, but I'm going to give you the highlights of what I'm bringing forth. And then we get into conversation instantly because we know each other. We've been knowing each other now for almost 3 years, and we've been doing this constantly for almost 3 years. So we know each other very well. We know each other, what makes each other tick, at least, orally. And but so we do these things, but then we'll start getting into podcasting without doing the podcasting, and we're like, oh, stop, we gotta stop talking right now. We gotta save this conversation that we need to have for the podcast.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's you get this weird thing that happens as well, because we have Tom Stevens and Jamie Westwood. They do USUK Chronicles, but when they first started, they were doing superhero bar fight. They were brand new to this, and they kept interrupting each other and talking over each other. And they're like, "How do we do?" I was like, "Don't worry about it. It'll just come naturally. It will come naturally. You'll work out your own timings. Me. You may see now and again. Me and Tom will do this. We'll throw a finger up. That's not to shush our guests. Don't ever anybody think that we're doing that. Like me next. It's just our signal. Like I'm going next, mate. You work out your own timings, and there's a cosmic alignment that sort of happens, and you sort of work each other's natural timings out. It's quite beautiful.
You guys must have been doing podcasts via Zoom before. Podcasts via Zoom were the only way to do podcasts.
Google Hangouts.
Google Hangouts.
Oh,
okay.
It worked really well. And the funny thing was, we were kind of at a disadvantage because the feelings and the vibe that you can get from 2 people, I'm sure you've been down at the bar having fun with your friends or your mates or what have you, having a few drinks, and the conversation gets hilarious and it gets silly and everything's great about it. But there's some real there's some real energy going through there that we unfortunately have to make because we're so far away. So when we started this, we were at a disadvantage, but now everyone's doing this, and we were kind of ahead of the game, so to say. So by the time that everyone's already worked out the kinks of how to do this, over Zoom, over Google Hangouts, me and Alex were already seasoned pros. It was kind of nice. We're like, ha, now who's the dumb podcasters? Not us. We are ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Exactly. So I was texting my wife to get me a glass of Vimto. I feel so demanding. My throat's closing up as we're talking. So I'm like, get me a glass of Vimto, please, wife. I feel so.
There you go. Well, I'm afraid I topped up with wine, boys, before I came on.
I've got whiskey and rum in there. I was going to have a drink, but I've said to the wife, I'm going to sort of slow down with the drinking. I was going to go on a detox. I was like, I've put a big X on my calendar, detox for a month. But the Super Bowl at the weekend, guys. I am not detoxing over Super Bowl. So from Super Bowl, I'll be going for a month without any beer. So that'll be.
I did dry January, so no alcohol in January. That was the target.
How was it for you?
Well, I can't say I felt a load better, actually, if I'm honest, but I like the discipline of saying I'm not going to drink, and proving that I don't have to have a drink, because there are days when kind of, with my job, sometimes you think it's got to the end of the day, I think, do you know, I need a glass of wine. Or a beer or whatever it might be. So I like the fact that I have the discipline of saying, you can't have it this month because you're gonna have to go without it. So yeah, I coped all right. Can't say it changed me dramatically health wise, but it was a good discipline, and I do that in January and I do it in October. So now is the best time, because I've got about 7 months now, 8 months actually, before I have to worry. Exactly, before I have to worry about giving up alcohol again. It's kind of, when October's done, I've only got 2 more months and then I'm giving it up again. So kind of, it's make the most of it. But now I've got the long haul through to summer. The nights are getting lighter, and the distant thought of dry October, or Stoptober as we call it, is a long way away. So that's cool. That's good.
When's Lent? I haven't been to church in a very long time. When's Lent? Do either one of you know?
So yeah, that kind of starts around in a week or so's time, sorry, and runs through till Easter, doesn't it? It's always a different type. Yeah, exactly. Okay. There you go. So
I mean, we're not religious, per se. I mean, nothing wrong with religion at all, but I generally don't observe any real religion nowadays. But how about this, Alex? Since you're going to go dry, why don't we give up for Lent and I'll give up cannabis for a month? We'll see how that goes.
Whoa. Have a think about this, buddy. Okay, because this is a big deal for you, right?
I mean, it is and it isn't. Like, I mean, it is because like it's my fallback. Like as much as like a glass of wine to a lot of people is like you're relaxed, or you're like, oh, long day. It's time to have a little glass of wine and just sit back and relax. That's what cannabis is to me. It's been that way since I was 15 years old. Don't smoke weed, kids. But like that's as an adult who can grow cannabis legally in his house, because guess what, Vermont, baby. I generally rely on a little bit of cannabis, but I've been smoking less and less for a multitude of reasons. One, mainly, I don't like the way that it negatively impacts my podcasting, and my podcasting means more to me than my relaxation. And also, I work all the time now. My job's more like, I used to be just another cog in the machine, and now my job is really like the company that I work for depends on me being on top of my game, so I can't take chances like being like hungover from cannabis. And I know it's a silly thing to say, give me a year ago, I'm like, that's stupid, that's not true, shut up, stupid future Tom, that's not a real thing. But like being a guy that's done it, there is a little bit of lag the following day, just like if you imbibe in anything. So like all those little things kind of add to me, ingesting less and less cannabis. So I'd like to see what a whole month, or maybe a tiny bit more, Lent's 40 days, would be like without having my go-to.
Okay. February 17th it starts. February 17th. I'm down for not drinking for 40 days and 40 nights, but I worry about you, man. So we'll do this. We'll see how we get on with it.
You make it sound like I'm a junkie. I love it. No. I get really worried, man. You might go into DTs.
Okay, so what I do is, because I'm an empath, right? I've put myself in your position, right? I think about equilibrium. I like things as they are, right? When something changes, it fucks me up a little bit. I'm kind of like, I don't know how I'm going to cope with this. So me thinking about if I smoked weed, which I don't, and it was my casual thing every single day, and I suddenly stopped, it would mess me up. So that's where I'm coming from with this. Like, we'll do this. Okay, here we go.
All right.
We'll make a big
Sounds
deal
a great challenge. Sounds a great challenge. I think you boys should do it.
We will. We
what are you giving up, Dave?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was about to say, Dave wanted on this.
Well, I think I've just given up alcohol, right? So I've kind of proved that point, all right? I've given up work. I've got to given up earning any money. I've got zero income. So, I'm gonna try actually getting back to things that I was doing before. So Lent for me is going to be, I'm now going to have some alcohol, and I'm now going to hopefully at some point, actually maybe 40 days after 17th of February, I might get back to earning some money at the end of it. I don't know. Depends on Bob.
I think you will. I think soon's I think March. They've got to do something. People are going to be shooting each other. They're going to be digging their eyeballs out, or they're going to be. Honestly, people are going nuts. People are going.
I think nuts. we're in for a tough time, to be honest, over the next few months. Just to bring it back down to a bit more serious for a while. I genuinely think the schools are not going to open until, we've already determined that over here in the UK. We're not opening the schools until the 8th of March at the earliest, and they will want to see what impact that has, because clearly, if that sends the rates up again of the number of people that have got it, then they need to be careful. So I don't think we're going to open until kind of like the 5th of April would be the earliest that we're open, and that's getting close to the end of Lent, boys. You'll be checking out your weed supplies by that Tom.
Well, interestingly enough, like not him. He drink for him. My kids have been very fortunate that the entire school year so far they've been in school. Like there's been no drop. But I live in the mountains. Like I think their school is maybe 150 kids, if that. I don't know exact numbers. I don't pay attention to every other kids. I only pay attention to mine because I'm weird like that, I guess. But there's they've been able to go the entirety, and there's not been a single case of corona in the school. Not even there's been like a couple, that person went out of state, they got a quarantine, stuff like that, which is you're supposed to do. I support that type of thing, because it's not really like my mother-in-law caught COVID twice now. And the first time it really kind of fucked her up. She went into a coma, a whole bunch of bad stuff. Not very good. Second time, she's, a lot better off, but she kind of asked for it because she went back down to Florida where she lives half the year, and she really kind of put herself in a bad situation. So there was really, as much as I care about it, there was no like, oh my goodness. It was more like, well, what did you think was going to happen? But once again, luckily, no ill effect has happened from my kids being in school, and nobody's had that type of thing. So I'm kind of hoping that with the influx of vaccines and with all the work that's been put into it and all the things that we've learned since last year, there won't be a huge rise in COVID relation when kids get to go back.
I think we can hope, but I think what Dave's trying to say is don't hope too much, because
no, of course not. I understand.
I think it depends, doesn't it? So do you know what? It does depend upon the population density. So the problem with the UK is we're 17 million people crammed into a pretty small area, and so therefore the chances are that it's going to be really transmissible. When you're somewhere like Vermont, where the density of population is a lot lower, it is much easier to control, and that's without wishing to provide any excuses for our government that I don't think have covered themselves with glory over the past 12 months in terms of how they handled it. Actually, you can't deny that we are a lot of people on a very small island, and therefore it is pretty difficult to avoid. Whereas when you're in a much bigger area, look, like Australia is the comparison. I mean, they've had less than 1,000 people die in Australia. We're over 100,000 now in the UK. And both Australia and the UK are islands, but the difference is that there's a lot less people per square mile in Australia than there is in the UK. And
I think island as a word is the key phrase there. They should have gone, okay, you can either swim over here or not come at all. Like it's hard though with import export, I imagine. But yeah, they should have closed the borders completely.
I completely agree. I think part of the problem wasn't it? They were trying to protect the aviation industry, but you've kind of got to accept that actually this thing is so transmissible, and if we had the opportunity to shut our borders, and we've kind of done it now, but we're like 12 months too late. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. The problem is that when you say things like we want to shut the borders down, everyone likes to take it in its worst case scenario or its worst way that it's supposed to mean. In realism, you guys are saying let's close down the borders because it'll keep us safe. It'll give us time to control this thing. It'll time for us to kind of plan ahead and not be dealing with the influx of people that might be potential carriers of COVID. But everyone likes to turn it into, oh, you're just being, you're being phobic right now. You're saying hateful stuff when you're really saying, no, let's get this thing under control first. And then we'll worry about having people come back afterwards. We're not saying no people at all. We're just saying right this second might not be the best time for your neighbors in the north to come and visit.
Well, I mean, like the same thing would happen. I mean, like, okay, so say they close the borders and they're like, okay, nobody now can come in or out. And then as soon as like COVID's gone, it would be like, the buffet is now open. The buffet is now open, and everyone will go. They'll come here. We'll leave. We'll just scatter our shit everywhere. It'll just be all over the place. And that's the same for gyms, like it's fitness clubs. It's the same for restaurants. It's the same for cinemas, festivals. It will just be chaos if they just all of a sudden go out. You go, enjoy it. Is this something that you're prepared for?
I think part of the problem. Well, I think the good thing is that we had. But two good things actually. So first things with health clubs, right? We were doing track and trace before we even knew that was called track and trace. So the way that you health club operates is that you have a membership card that you swipe in to recognize that you're a member. So we were already knew when our members arrived, when they left, who is in the club and when. So the great thing is that when COVID hit and we were allowed to reopen back in July, we were able to check who was coming in and when, and so was every other health club in the UK. And so we know that the rate of anybody coming into a health club with COVID was at the highest point just before we went back into lockdown in November was 1.5 instances per 100,000 visits to a health club, which is tiny. And the reason why that is because it's really easy in a health club, despite what people think, to maintain social distance, because we limited how people use the changing rooms. We put markers down on the floor and cut the numbers of people in exercise classes. So we knew that people were never going to be closer than 2 meters in a dance class, and we were or exercise class, and we were able to move our gym equipment around. So we maintained social distancing. People were worried about passing it on, so we gave everybody their own. When they walked through the door, they got their own spray and their own cloth, and we said, anything you touch, spray it and wipe it down. And so actually, health clubs, despite what was said, and the government have now recognised this, albeit 9 months too late, but the government recognised that actually the transmission in health clubs was pretty safe. And actually, when you look at the ONS, which is the government sort of statistical department, when you look at their own records of the incident of where COVID was caught, actually the places that it was caught least are pubs, restaurants, and health clubs. And yet those are the places that they shut down first, because they're kind of politically seen to be places where people would think they're most likely to catch it. The place where you're most likely to catch it is in the home. So, of course, the problem is when we put everybody into lockdown, we stop them from going out. People, because as we spoke about earlier, we're social animals, we need to meet up. So we're meeting up in the homes secretly and just the odd person, and it will be okay. But that's where we pass it on, because homes are not ventilated. Health clubs, pubs, restaurants, we've all got commercial ventilation. Health clubs have always been potentially smelly, sweaty places. So we spend a huge amount of money. We've got about £250,000 worth of air conditioning units in the Shrewsbury Club, because we know that we need to move air around the whole time to keep the place smelling nice. And that was in place well before COVID, and ventilation in terms of passing on diseases was even thought of. It's just practical, and the same in restaurants, because you want to move the smell around, and you want to, you've got people, you don't want it to be stuffy. People are eating. It wants to be a pleasant, nice smelling environment that you're in. And pubs likewise, ever since smoking was banned in pubs, they've sorted their air conditioning out as well. So actually, just because of the places that they are, they've already got great ventilation, which stops the transmission by aerosols, by particles in the air. So actually, pubs, restaurants, and health clubs are one of the safer places. One of the places you're less likely to get it. You're far more likely to get it in a shop. You're far more likely to get it in schools and universities, and you're far more likely to get it in a home. That's the government statistics that prove that. So those have been some of the challenges. So I genuinely think that when we get back open, it won't be the pubs and the restaurants and the health clubs that will be where people will be catching it. It will be the workplace where if people all go back to the office. It will be schools, and it will still be in the home. But hopefully, the one thing they are doing well, whatever anybody says, is they're getting this vaccine out, aren't they? I mean, crikey, Riley.
Yeah, I've had mine.
They're getting the vaccine delivered. Started that just before Christmas. And to have had, was it 1 in 7 of the adult population have already had a vaccine in the space of 6 weeks?
I've heard it was 80% of all the elderly in Shropshire have had it, which is fantastic, amazing.
I didn't realise you were counted as part of the elderly in Shropshire.
Yeah. Getting there, catching up. I'm a support worker, so I'm classed as frontline. So they were like, Whiteley, you're going to get your jab. I was like, okay. I'll just do as I'm told. Now, a few months ago, they did the Eat Out to Help Out scheme. They very much treated the public like guinea pigs, whatever you want to say. That's what that was. Let's try and kickstart the economy a little bit and see what happens. Let's throw the dice. Say they started off something like that with the gyms. So they're like, okay, let's
work out to help out.
Yeah, work out to help out. Would you be tempted to give it a go, or would you be cautious because you won't want to set yourselves back from the preparations that you've been making?
No, we'd absolutely be up for that. I think it'd be a great idea. I think it's really important that people get back to exercise. And, that's where I slightly get frustrated with the media, because they've made a lot about this Eat Out to Help Out was a mistake. I don't think it was. The Eat Out to Help Out did not cause the second spike or the second wave in any way, shape, or form. People were eating in socials. It was schools and universities. The schools and universities went back, and that's what then caused the second wave, which was going to come in the winter months anyway. By the way, that every pandemic we've ever had has had a number of waves to it. So the second wave was inevitable. But what triggered it was schools and universities, not Eat Out to Help Out.
I absolutely agree. I really do agree. I've got to commend. I can only go on what I know, and what I know is Coleham School, which is my boys' school, and they've been amazing, so good. And I imagine there are lots of schools that have been, but it must be so hard. You remember secondary school, right, where you'd be herded like cattle from one classroom to another, and it's just people wall to wall. It's ridiculous, right? So yeah, I can't imagine it being the safest environment for anybody during a pandemic.
Well, it's just the volume of people and the lack of proper ventilation. It's simple as that. It's nothing that the schools have done wrong or not being careful with or anything else. It's just the nature of the illness and the ventilation systems that are in place. It's as simple as that. I mean, initially it was thought that it was passed on through touch points, which it partly is, but clearly transmission, particularly with the new variants, have been more through particles in the air, and that's going to be impossible in a place where you've got lots of people in a fairly confined space, unless you've got proper high industrial type ventilation, which strangely pubs, restaurants and health clubs have, for the reason that I've said.
Better than groundskeeper Willie with the leaf blower. I got them. I got the germs. Well, the world's closed at the moment, okay, and this was terrible for us because, like Tom was saying at the beginning, we just started a brand new podcast, right? After all this experience, and we were hoping that we'd be like, oh, there'll be Comic-Cons, there'll be events, there'll be things we can go to, and that didn't happen. With the Biscuit, for example, we were about to cover for you the W60 World Women's Tennis Tournament at the Shrewsbury Club, and in fact, we had a real great into that. Because
we had an in and everything. It was amazing. Like, so it worked out so weirdly because one of the people that worked with my wife, her sister was like the number one contender in the women's age. I think like 16 to 18. I don't know how the age ranks work, but she's a high performing tennis player. And I was like, oh my goodness, we know this person and we can get her on the show. This is gonna be great. How fortuitous. And then COVID.
Yeah. That was a great shame. I mean, that's a great event. We're really looking forward to hosting that again. It will come round again. At the moment, we're hoping that we'll get it in November. And at that those are the plans. We're talking to the ITF. We're talking to the LTA, which is our National Tennis Association over here in the UK. And so we're hopefully going to get that back in November. And yeah, Al, for sure, you'll be the Biscuit is going to be a core part of what we do. We're really looking forward to hosting you and having you as we're going to give you our own little pop-up studio, I think is what we've talked about, isn't it? So
it's gonna be
amazing.
Try and stop us. We'll be in the car park if you don't let us in. We'll be like, hey, they wouldn't let us in, but we want to talk to us at the Biscuit now. No. We'll be there.
Mate, I've got it all lined up. I've got you an allocated space. It's going to be branded up. It's going to be the Biscuit Podcast Pod. And you're going to be a core part of what we do, which will be great. And if we've got some Americans playing, which we have had before, then we in the last event we had actually, which is a men's event, and we got an American through to the semi-final. Didn't quite make it to the final, but yeah, so it'd be great if we can do that. Then we can include USUK on podcast on there as well.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. You're going to, that'd be great. What would you? Sorry, Tom. I feel like I've just flooded Dave with questions. We haven't seen each other for a while, but I did want to ask you because obviously you've got a lot of experience for someone that's kind of been a ready. I know you're working, but it's been very much ready, steady, stop for a lot of people that are running their own businesses. What advice would you give to someone that's high end now of lockdown, getting a bit antsy, getting a bit fed up, a little bit worried? I imagine there's a lot of worry out there. What advice would you give to them at home?
Okay, so I think as I sort of alluded to earlier, just focus on the things that you can influence and don't worry about the things that you can't influence. That would be that's been my kind of mantra for the last 12 months. You know, I just need to really channel my energy and my effort and my focus on all the things that I can make a difference to. So, you know, if your business is shut, if you can't do anything, you're just waiting, then use this time to plan, to strategize, to focus on the things that you can impact. I don't care what business you are. I still say staying in touch with your customers is critical. You know, whatever way, shape or form you can. So we're doing some little live stream mini programs on Facebook and YouTube and just different ways that we can connect with our members. So same for anybody, whatever business you've got, stay in touch with your customers, think about what you're doing, use this as a chance to rebuild your energy. I've, as I mentioned earlier as well, we've found some guys that can train us on the physiological impact of COVID and how we can provide great training for people that are coming back from COVID. So that's specific to our business. But I've loved getting involved, and actually, it's years since I was on the gym floor, as you can probably tell, and coaching and training people. But I have loved getting back involved in understanding the anatomy and physiology and understanding that side of it and looking at it from what the impact of COVID is on the body and how we can therefore help people to get back to their fitness. So I think there are always things in this situation that, whether it be learning, self-development, or staying in touch with your customers, but just worry and focus on the things that you can influence. Don't worry about the things that you can't, because what's going to happen is going to happen. If this thing is going to carry on for another 6 months, then it's going to carry on for another 6 months, right? There's nothing we can do about it. I can't stop it from being transmissible. So that would be my advice. And I think my other bit of advice, which I learned actually, because I really struggled in the first month, 6 weeks, if I'm honest, back in March, April last year. So, and it was my wife that said to me that you've got to get some routine, because you've got no plan or focus for your day. So and I'd find myself, still in my dressing gown by lunchtime and hadn't had my shower, and I just felt disorganized. So yeah, get a routine, I still wake up I'm always an early riser with work, because I'm often on the road. I spend a lot of my time traveling, so I'm often out of the house by 6:30, 7 o'clock. So I'm still carrying on and getting up early, and I'm sort of giving some structure to my day, which is really important for me. So those would be my two things. Get some routine and structure in your day, and focus on the things that you can influence, and use this as an opportunity to learn and develop.
I've had to take 2 weeks off work because I've been working too hard. There's been lots of people that have been quarantined, or they've been in furlough, and I've had to take 2 weeks off because it's been crazy, especially because of the Super Bowl, of course, Super Bowl at the weekend. It's just
your job's tough. Your job's tough. You've got, that's good that you've been able to do that, because that, in a different way to mine, your job is full on, it's intense, and you must need to be able to switch off from that. I would have thought.
It's a crazy scenario, because normally, last time we spoke, it was quite. It can be quite a scary place to work at times. At times it can be, but during COVID, what that kind of did, it made the people I work with sort of recede back into their little domains a little bit, and it's kind of quite. I'm touching wood right now. It's quieting things down a bit, which is great, because we're kind of okay. I've got until 2 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock in the morning. I've got 4 hours. I'll probably watch a bit of Netflix or something and do a bit of cleaning or something that's really easy. But like, what I worry about is the mental health issue that's going on, because these kids are in a so by room, sat there bouncing a tennis ball against a wall mentally, and it's not good for anybody, so but yeah, we'll get back to it, hopefully. I just hope that we ease our way back into the norm, because it's going to be crazy when they do open the doors, I do imagine. But
normal is just sitting on a washing machine, Alex. I've been to Hot Topic, so I know this.
I always say normal is fiction. Normal is fiction. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's what you make it.
Go on, Dave. No, I want to. So I was gonna. This is my last question. Usually, Alex is kind enough to be like, "Hey, Tom, you got any questions before we end the show?" And the other day we did the gauntlet, Alex, didn't we? I'm not asking to run the gauntlet, but it's something about the gauntlet really inspired me.
I put Dave's daughter through the gauntlet.
I was gonna say we've been through the gauntlet. My daughter and I. We
nice.
On the Biscuit podcast. So yeah.
Well, Alex asked a question. Alex asked this question during the gauntlet, which really kind of enthused me to ask this question more about people, because we get to talk to people like you all the time, David. I mean, not nearly as charismatic and cool as you are, but we talk to a lot of people. And the fact is that Alex asked me, he's like, what did you want to be when you were a kid? And I was like, man, what a great question. I love that question, because when we talk to you, we're talking this iteration of you. We're talking to the guy who's lived a life, who's become who you are, become the successful businessman that you are. But I know nothing about you from, before. What did you want to be when you were a kid?
Let me just tell you, by the way, I don't feel a particularly successful businessman right now, okay? Because I've got a business that's got zero income, but I'll take the credit. But to answer your question, so when I was really young, I loved my sport, and I wanted to be like most kids, professional footballer. So probably up until the age of about 11 or 12, I hankered after the dream to be a footballer. I think by the time I got to about 12 or 13, I probably was also a realist by that point, and I recognized that I probably that was beyond me, and that wasn't gonna happen. And so therefore for me it was about, so how do I get myself a career in football if I'm not good enough to play? And so I decided I wanted to be a commentator. So I spent quite a bit of time from the age of 12, and I'm going to show my age now, because this was like in the days before you could kind of watch football, or football was live on the telly or whatever. So I used to either create imaginary games in my mind and commentate and record them on a little cassette recorder, not any actual cassette recorder, okay? And you boys are looking at me blank. You don't even know what they are. You don't even
Oh,
know
come on.
are.
Yes, we used to make mixtapes. I used to make mixtapes. Wait for Michael Jackson bad to come on and...
So I did... Okay. So I did a bit of that, and I did a bit of making my own, like DJing and playing some music on my record player and recording it and all that kind of stuff. Good. So I did a bit of that as well, and so that was it. I wanted to be a football commentator or a journalist, and then I kind of wondered about whether I wanted to be a teacher when I sort of got to the age of about 16, 17. It was then, well, actually, do I want to teach sport? That would be quite good fun. And I wasn't sure whether I wanted to teach in schools or teach outside of schools. So it kind of evolved, therefore. So when I finished my A-levels, I took a year out, and I decided to do 6 months of teaching in my old school, PE teaching, to see how that went, and 6 months of working in a holiday centre on the sports team, running and coaching and doing sports. And at the end of that year, I quickly realized that teachers spent most of their time dealing with the kids that didn't want to be doing PE and kind of just sorting them out and getting their kit and all that kind of stuff. And it therefore was frustrating, because you had a class of 30, and 20 of the kids loved being there and hung on every word, and 10 of the kids just hated it. It was their worst lesson of the week. And so that was actually in a real imbalance. That was really, that was frustrating. I recognized why it was a challenge for those 10 kids and felt bad for them, but I also realized that their kind of semi-involvement impacted on the enjoyment of the other 20. So I suppose because I like an easy life, I guess. So I decided I wanted to go for the option of, let's go into the sports outside of school. And so that's the angle that I went through. So it kind of was an involvement of, do you know what? I want to be a professional footballer. I'm not going to have to be a footballer. I could be a commentator. I could be a reporter. Or actually, maybe I get more involved and I get a bit of coaching. And that kind of evolved into then going to university, doing a degree around sports coaching and understanding anatomy and physiology, and then actually deciding, you know, what about gyms? And literally straight from there. My dad had his own business, so he was the inspiration. I was thought, well, my dad's got his own business. Why don't I have my own business? And coming out of uni, I thought, at that point in time, I've got nothing to lose here. If I completely cock this up, I'm still so young that I can start again. But if I don't start my own business now, I'll get a decent job, I'll get a decent salary, I might end up with a wife, and I might end up with a kid, and then the risks of starting my own business is going to be so much greater. So if I take a chance now, I've got nothing to lose. And so that's what me and Steve did. So that was how it kind of evolved from wanting to be a footballer to ending up setting up this business when I was 21 or whatever. Yeah, 21. And unfortunately, because of a load of luck and things falling in the right place and hard work and a few other bits and pieces falling into place, that's what I've done ever since.
Amazing. And this echoes what I said at the beginning of this episode. One of the first things that came out of my mouth was, it's inspiring when someone goes out there and makes something with their bare hands. And I do applaud you for that, because you do inspire other people. Because that is fantastic. So well done. I really like that. Yeah. Right, Dave. What we tend to do now is we let our guests go, because we're going to have a geek out. I've been trying to bully Tom to watch WandaVision on Disney Plus, so he hasn't watched it. I can tell by his face. No, but we'll have to find something to talk about.
That's fine. You can just start. Well, what we can do is you can pump me up for it. I want you to tell me about it, because then I'll maybe watch it. But Dave,
maybe when he stops smoking his stuff in Lent, he'll have time to watch it a bit more. There you go, and see it in a slightly different light. Maybe
that's a good possibility. Maybe I should watch some of the stuff and listen to some of the stuff that I really enjoy when I'm high, and I'll be like, that's not good at all. It's just my my marijuana addled brain that makes it okay. But why don't you give your business a shout out, sir? Why don't you give your podcast a shout out before you step out?
That's really kind. Thank you. So, the business is Mosaic Spa and Health Clubs. We operate health clubs and day spas across the UK. And the two that we own are the Shrewsbury Club, which is at the home of where Al is, and Homer Park, which is just down the road from there in Hereford, which is a lovely day spa. And podcast that I've had great fun doing with my two mates is called the Waggle Dance Podcast. We've done series 1, so we did a series of 6 kind of just before Christmas, and the second series is starting on the 15th of February. So Waggle Dance Podcast. There you go. Thank you for letting me give that as a shout out. And I will just say one other thing, Al, because you'll love this. So Al invited me and my daughter onto the Biscuit podcast in lockdown, actually, and we had a great time. And she's done her own little podcast that she's been doing for a while, and she wants to get into being on the radio. She loves that idea. So that's her goal at the moment. She's 15, and Al really put her on the spot, because she'd never actually been interviewed before, and she found that really quite nerve-wracking and quite challenging, and he didn't hold back, which was brilliant. It's actually what she needed, and he challenged her, and he made her run the gauntlet, and she went for it. And to be fair, I thought she did a good job. But I want to just tell you a little story off the back of that. So that gave her a huge amount more confidence than she had before, that she'd be doing her own podcast, and she was buzzing about the fact that she's on the Biscuit podcast, and she listened back to it, and it gave a huge amount of confidence. The BBC is the national broadcaster over here, and they run a competition called the Young Journalist of the Year for people to enter. And so off the back of that, she said, Dad, do you think I could go for that? I said, I definitely think you should go for that, because etc. Anyway, so she went in for it. They had over 10,000 entries, and she ended up on the long shortlist for the national awards, and it's still going on, but she is shortlisted for the regional awards, so for the BBC Young Journalist of the Year. And without a shadow of a doubt, that kind of story started by Al putting her through her paces on the Shrewsbury podcast and giving her some credit, some challenge, and to kind of do that. And it's the first time she'd been on the other side of the mic, and it was great, and she learned a lot. And she would say that if she was here now, she would say exactly that. So Al, I thought you just loved that feedback. That's and she's got her fingers crossed.
I'm trying not to.
She's got her fingers crossed that she's going to make it through to the final. But even so, and interestingly, the conversations that she's had with the BBC is that, whatever you do, put this on your CV, because the fact you've got onto the shortlist will stand you in good stead. So well done, Al. Huge thank you to you for allowing us to do that. And look, that's the impact that you had. So well done. So while we're talking podcasts, I just thought I should mention that. And now I'll leave you to talk about your whatever it is you're gonna catch up on. But I had great fun. Thank you for inviting me on tonight.
Thank you,
Dave. You're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave.
We'll get you on the Biscuit again soon. It'd be great to catch up on that as well. We would just be like, yo, poke you with a stick. But thank you so much for coming on.
We'll find a reason, but I'm happy to come on. So it's been great fun, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and thanks very much for having me on. Take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hold on. And hey, welcome to the Late Lounge. Oh,
I see you got my memo about the black shirts, by the way.
What? What? Oh, it's a black shirt night tonight, is it?
Yeah. We're both wearing black shirts, and I didn't really send you a memo. That's always my joke with people. When I see them wearing the same color clothing me or same style of clothing, I'm like, oh, cool, you got my memo. Awesome.
It's my foreskin t-shirt, baby.
I see that. And Elon Musk is the biggest person on there. And we never interviewed him, so it's a lie.
It's so random that he's just there. It's just one of our favorite episodes. That was hard. When he was saying that about his daughter, by the way, she was amazing on the biscuit. That's that's really quite touching.
It is. It's really cool, dude. It's nice to inspire people, but at the same time, like, he's a successful guy. So now I'm concerned that his daughter's podcast is gonna be more successful than us, which won't be hard to do. In which case, we'll have to sabotage her, which seems really wrong because she's such a young lass.
No, she's awesome. She's great. And they are like, okay, so I'm from a working class family, all right?
Yeah.
And now a lot of working class families, when they see rich people, successful people, not me, but and the general consensus is, oh, snob, money. But it's not the case for me, because like I'll never see myself as these as someone that will walk around in a suit and present themselves in a way that I'm made of £1 million. And what struck me as amazing when I met Dave, he's a very successful guy, but he's one of the most he's one of the most down to earth people you'll ever meet.
And I'm the high one.
Really encouraging. He's kind, and he's brilliant and he's got a very inspiring story. And honestly, like, people that have made things with their bare hands genuinely mean that with the bottom of my heart. Like, that is something that you can all aspire to be, The Paris Hiltons of the world, and the people that have gone out there and just been like
an old reference. The Paris Hiltons and the Charlie Chaplins and the Marilyn Monroes of this world are really just setting us back. Those fucks.
We were talking about, by the way, after dinner, I started singing. Timmy said something. I started singing, "Baby, baby, baby." I was like, that song is over 10 years old. Like, that's fucked up.
He's rebelling 10 years in the past because these are the things that you complain about.
Weird,
You're fucking Justin Bieber, so your son rebels to you by liking Justin Bieber, which makes him out of class than everybody else because they're all like listening to Ed Sheeran or something. I don't know.
Well, isn't it weird to think that that's like 10 years old?
Yeah, it is a little bit. It does seem like yesterday, but the thing is, like, we're common people yesterday, right? We're older, the years go by faster. So saying 10 years to us is like, wow, that was only 10 years ago, which is not long ago at all. You say 10 years to a kid and they're like, oh, that was before I was born. Fucking crazy, So it's still all new to them. They'll listen to like a Led Zeppelin song and be like, oh, this is fucking awesome. This is brand new. And you're like, no. Or yes, it is. Totally is. Came out yesterday. I've never heard Stairway to Heaven before.
Yeah, Dave was great to talk to, and I hope we can do that W60 thing when it opens again, when the world's opened. And
fuck yeah, I would like to. I'd like to go see a sports game. You can like put me next to you, and I can like watch from Zoom. Be like, what's going on? This fucking asshole in front of me just stood up, and I can't see shit. Alex, who scored? Is it 0-2?
0-2. 0-2.
So can I tell you a quick story before we get into you trying to tell me why WandaVision is so good?
Yeah.
Okay. So did I ever tell you about when I was in the Cub Scouts and I got to go on the local radio station?
No.
Okay. So this is kind of like
it's one time.
This is like pre-podcasting I did. So in the Cub Scouts, somehow, some way, we had a connection to a local radio station. That's cool. We got to go in and see the room where they record and all the equipment and talk to the DJs and all that stuff. And he's like, hey, would you guys like to talk on the radio? And we're, young, man. We're probably like 8, 7 or something like that. I don't remember exactly how old. And, some of them said yes. Some of us said no. And the group of 3 kids was me, one of them, of course. Like, I love to talk. Everyone knows I love to talk. I can't shut the fuck up, so I love to talk. And the 2 other kids went before me, and they're like, hi, I'm fucking Timmy from down the road and blah, 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 and Cub Scouts. And then they fuck off. Me, on the other hand, I got on and said, hey, everybody, there's a tiger on the loose, and it's going to get you. And the guy, like the DJ, didn't know how to take that. I was improvising with this stupid, ridiculous tiger story. And he was like, oh, it's like it's Halloween. I'm like, you you should have continued and been like, yeah, there's a tiger out there, motherfuckers, and continue the cool story. Instead, you just like make excuses for this little kid who jumps on the radio saying bullshit. So I was thinking about that, and I was like, it's weird because like some way that echoes to today, right? Like I still love the talk. I do this all the time, like at least twice a week now. And I'm, of course, more comfortable than I ever would have been at 7 years old. But somehow, some way, that little boy back when he was like 7, 8 in Cub Scouts trying to tell that goofy tiger story leads to Tom Bruno, podcaster with the great, powerful fucking Alex Whiteley.
It's beautiful how we all make our own journeys, right? I mean, I used to hate the sound of I still kind of do. I don't hate the sound of my own voice. It's kind of involved. I mean, we did used to make like mixtapes. We used to have like pen pals down in Kent, right? And what we used to do is we used to record conversations. Hey, it's me, Alex, and my brother would be like, it's me, Sam, and we'd be like, yeah, here's a song we made for you, and we play the song, and then we'd be like, hey, and that was such and such, and have you still got, how's the baby or whatever? And then we'd send the tape in the post, and then they would send one back, or they'd send the same tape back but recorded over, and that's kind of what we used to do, and yeah. I don't know.
That's cool. That's really cool. I had a pen pal at one point. It was for a different country though, which made me feel really lazy because like I was in Spanish class and we had a pen pal. Like they had to Spanish, like down in Mexico where the fuck the letters were going. And like I would send off my letter and it was supposed to be in Spanish because it was supposed to teach you how to write in Spanish. And also you'd have this pen pal and you'd get back the letter and you'd read it. And that's like credit and shit. But I'm lazy, Alex, and I didn't know Spanish. So I wrote them in English and they'd always write me a letter back in English. It was really like a one-sided conversation.
I am typing in now the name of my pen pal from when I was in school to see if I can find him.
Interesting.
He's from France. From France.
France. Ooh. Was it in English or did you write in French? How'd that go?
In French, right? This is crazy, right? This is crazy. Because when I was in school, I was almost fluent in French. I was really good, genuinely really good. I left school and I forgot every single word. I was so good. But I guess when you've got the textbooks there and, you can kind of put things together with your books and stuff, you're kind of easier. But I lost it all, but I was really good at French. His name was Frederick.
There's a lot of French people named Frederick, bro.
I nearly said his surname, but he might not want me to.
Yeah, probably not. Like, here's the funny thing is, like, where I live in America. I live on the very, very tippy top. I'm basically a Canadian. You would think that when they offered me French and Spanish, I would take French because, like, it would, come into play where I live because I live on the French-Canadian border. But instead, I'm like, fuck that. Spanish, bro. I didn't even bother to learn that. So, like, you would have done way better over here than I did, man. Were you good in school? Like, what was that like?
You see, the thing is, yeah, I was, but I had a very short attention span. I always wanted to be liked. I'd always show off and stuff. I'd always tell lies. I'd always like make myself out I was someone cool, and I wasn't. Weird thing. Not always tell lies, but I'd exaggerate things. I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I went to America on holiday. I didn't go to America on holiday." Things bullshit like that, just to try and fit in. It's one of those. Well, when I was a lot younger, we didn't have a lot of money, so like we didn't have I didn't have Nike trainers and Rockport shoes and things like that. But so I had my personality to use to try and make friends, and that's kind of where a lot of this has come from today. Is the fact that I can blend into a crowd by just being really just relaxed when talking to people. I'm quite an outgoing person. I've got that to thank. I've got a lot to me being sort of not having a lot of money in school has taught me a lot. My personality is worth more than anything.
Exactly.
My parents could ever have given me.
Your social currency was your personality, which is something that a lot of people don't fucking have. I agree with everything you said. And like, when I was like, as I was growing up, I always like to be in the conversation. But if my friends were to talk to you right now, they'd be like, Tom never knew how to stop a joke. Tom never knew how to tell a story. I could just do things and like kind of like vibe. And then eventually I'd do it for too long. I didn't know the art of conversation per se. And that sometimes translates into the podcasting. Instead of asking a question, I'll make a statement, which that's why people tend to be like, yeah, after I'm done talking, because it's like, it's like this. It's not really like I'm posing a question. I'm just I'm stating at you. And it's taught me that when I'm in a public place now, when I meet new people, before I'm always been the social butterfly, but now I can at least carry on the conversation because I've built in the cues to make sure that I, tone in and don't you think, and blah, blah, blah. Fucking, so it's podcasting, bro. Podcasting does a lot. And it's weird
it
how
really does. The amount of strangers we speak to.
Yeah.
I mean, me specifically. So let's talk about just me for a second, right? Because let's
do that. I want to talk about you.
But like, I mean, with Thorskin and USUK and stuff, we have spoken to a lot of strangers. But the Biscuit, I'm doing 2 or 3 like interviews a day, sometimes 7 a day on the Open Studios. And there's things like Comic Salopia, the Flower Show, situations where I've got microphones and I'm shoving them in people's faces. Those scenarios are very difficult to get used to. When we were at Comic Salopia, we always talk about that because it was a huge education for me, because we didn't know who was going to walk through the doors. We had Shane Chebsey was running the whole thing, so it was all around Shrewsbury, and they had panels, like Comic-Con style panels, happening next door to us with comic book artists famous from all around the world. And they come out and they come straight into our studio, and we don't know who the fuck they were. I mean, at the opening stage, I remember standing there with my co-host, we're against the wall, and I was kind of like, I don't know who the fuck this is. One of them was, a world famous graphic designer, Chip Kidd, and he's worth tens of millions, and I didn't know who he was. I didn't know which one was, and I was supposed to, it's a weird thing. But that is where school and my situation with school sort of helped me, because I can be that chameleon, be that social chameleon, and learn to speak to people. But yeah, I feel like the podcasting thing has definitely helped, especially with conversation. Conversation is really, really important, I think. But do you feel like if we were to do this in person and have people in the studio, and we'd have people like Comic Salopia come in and actually speak to us in person, do you think it'd be the same?
I think I'd be funnier. I'm way funnier in a live situation. Like, I try to be funny here, and when I'm next to you, I don't try to be funny like that. It's a different type of funny I'd try to be, and I have a lot more success in a crowd. So I feel like a lot of the times when I say something, because once again, there is no energy. Like, we have energy because we enjoy each other's company. We built this relationship over a number of years, but we don't have the same energy as, like, a person to person conversation does. Ours is a little bit, and I don't mean this to sound like bad. It's not a bad thing, but it's a little more phony, right? In the sense of, like, it's not really there. Like, I can't feel your presence. I can hear your voice. I can talk to you. I can have a great time and chuckle and laugh. But when you're next to somebody, where you're looking them in the eyes and you're having a conversation, or when you're docking your penises, you have this vibe between you, and you and me had to make that. So once again, I didn't want the word phony to sound like, oh, it's made up. We make it up because we don't really enjoy this. We love each other's company, which is awesome, and it's its own special thing. But, like, it's not the same thing. But I always imagine the day that we podcast. Is it weird that I wonder what you smell like?
A little bit, yeah.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Oh,
I smell good, man.
I bet you do. I bet you smell like a rock star podcaster who's on Monopoly board. And I need to smell you. I wonder what you smell like. I bet you it's laminates and grilled cheese.
The genuine answer to that is I'm like, I've got to make some sort of effort. My hygiene for me is really important. I would hate for someone to think I smell like shit. So, because I already look like shit in my eyes. Okay, regardless.
Such an asshole.
So I always make sure I smell good. Or
you bet you do. Yeah. I want to get Kaz near. I want her to describe your odor. Not really. Don't really do that. But, like, I'm going to pose the question.
She would like, fuck Bruno. I don't want to speak to him.
He's so creepy. I really liked him until he asked what you smell like, Alex.
Bury your face in there, darling. Tell Tom Bruno what it smells like.
What's the musk of me?
The musk of Whiteley. We should bottle it and sell it off. Like,
fuck it. I'll buy it. I'll buy a candle of it. Fucking, it's just like that 31 Pilots. What's that band?
21 Pilots.
21 Pilots. Thank you. I'm so horrible. It's just like the 21 Pilots song where he's like, I wish I could turn it into a candle and I'd be the only one that buys it.
What's the name of that woman that was selling bottles of her bath water?
Oh, Daphne, whatever the fucking name is. She was a weird one. That's weird, right?
Very odd. Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, there's a lot of stupid guys out there. That's the problem with the world, is like, there's so little common sense that they wouldn't be like, let's not buy a glass of bathwater.
You see, the thing is, right? I've been talking a lot about only. Sorry, go on.
You go. No.
I was going to say I've been talking a lot about OnlyFans lately with my wife for reasons.
I want to start one, Tom.
Nothing like that. I want it. We know people that have joined OnlyFans, so we've been talking about it. I can't say too much because it's not fair, but we've been talking about it a lot. Now, I've googled OnlyFans and seen what it is, because I don't know. I don't do these things. I don't do Tinder. I don't do any of this shit. I really don't do apps of any kind. But there are guys on there, and I'm thinking, how the fuck are the guys? Because I can just imagine, like, girls. You put it perfectly. There are a lot of desperate guys out there that will subscribe to shit like this, right? We know that already.
Yeah.
But guys, like, oh look, it's my willy. Look.
And women. The problem is, that's like the only thing we have too. Like, girls got like 3 different parts they can unwrap, and guys like, woo, elbows.
I mean, I get it if you're ripped to shit, like that's different.
Well, that's what they're paying for. They're paying for the privilege to view something that they wouldn't otherwise view. You like, by the way, that like, because like the popularity and like the stance of OnlyFans, it essentially gave everybody in the earth a free pass to just get nude and get money for it.
I mean, like, okay, the girl that was at school that would just flash to the boys would have a name for herself, wouldn't she?
She would. She'd do great.
Exactly. So I mean, like, I'm kind of mixed on this, and I've been thinking about it quite a bit. We had a conversation about it with Lucy on the Bazaar, and I'll kind of go back into it, because I think it's both brave and brilliant of women to do that, and it's also a little bit shameless. But it's their body; they can do what the fuck they want with it, so why not? But at the same time, it's kind of like it's a bit sordid and a bit weird, you know.
Do you think we should start an OnlyFans where you and me like learn a different language?
You can. There's like stand-up comedians and musicians and stuff. It's not just for people that flick their knickers aside.
I know. So we'll do it where you and me every week try to learn how to speak a language, like language we don't know. People can just do fuck up
one uniform a month, like firefighter.
Every time we podcast, just wear that uniform.
Builder.
Oh my god! And after
we get pneumatic drill.
Stop playing with that, Alex. Why are you breaking real pneumatic tools into the podcasting studio? That makes no sense.
It's a strange one. It really is. So WandaVision.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You see, I have given Tom.
Like how it just killed all that time, by the way, by talking about real things instead of just going.
This is what we do, baby. This is what we do. I've written down loads about Dave and 4 lines for us. I wrote down "It's a Sin" because I need to encourage people to watch that. It's fantastic. I only realized in the last episode that the main actor for "It's a Sin" is the lead singer out of Years and Years. If you don't know who Years and Years are, Google them, because they were like one of the biggest bands of like last year. And it's fantastic. It's so touching. It's so brilliant. It's an eye opener. It really is. But WandaVision is they release a new episode every Friday. It's 4 episodes out right now. It's a slow burner, but it's brilliant. It's brilliant. You need to clear a bit of space in your mind, a bit of have an open mind when you go into watching it. But when you do, I want to speak to you about it. I would like to have a game of verbal tennis.
Okay,
with you about this and have genuine conversations about it.
All right. Well, you've told me very little, so why don't you tell me? Like, give me the opener. Well, how's it open?
Like a 1950s black and white sitcom.
Like, it just opens up on the black and white sitcom. Like, there's no preamble. There's no
There are hints throughout the episode that I think you need to second watch to kind of know what's going on. Right. Okay. Especially when they start revealing things towards later on in the series, you'll want to go back and sort of like see where these bits are.
Okay. Now, is it kind of like portraying that this is going on in her mind? Like, what's like, or are they not giving you anything at all? It's literally just it. Now, is it like so the I Love Lucy of it all is like the Leave It to Beaver black and white TV show. That's the first episode. Is it black and white the second episode?
Mostly.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Mostly.
It goes
that 1950s sitcom, then it goes Bewitched, then it goes 70s.
Yeah, I love Bewitched.
And then they take a break and go somewhere else.
Huh. Interesting.
And they introduce a character from the MCU that you haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, I heard I saw that all over the place. All right, so definitely don't tell me who that is. I definitely want to find that out because I like continuity. Everyone kept saying Quicksilver, Pietro, which would make sense. But we'll find out. You're clicking your pen. What are you doing over there?
It's yeah, sorry, my bad.
I was just like,
what are you doing? It's such a satisfying sound. Listen to that.
You're like my kid. My kid got like, and this is not supposed to be shitty. This is just truth. She got one of those circles that have little pop bubbles on it. And my dad bought it for her birthday because, like fidget stuff, blah, blah. And my dad got her one. Yeah, it's like a diaphragm, bro. You piss into it. It's pretty awesome. No, diaphragms helps you saying, what am I talking about? So it's like, it looks like a waffle. Imagine like a waffle. And on the other side of the waffle, it had like, instead of like having the indentations, it had the bubble out. And what you do is you can like pop these bubbles and it's like a silicone thing. So you can keep popping the bubbles over and over and over again.
Okay.
And it just makes a satisfying sound, just like you said. And my dad bought it for my daughter and he's like, so where did she find out about this? And I was like, why? He's like, because in the description for the object on Amazon, it says it's for autistic children. And I'm like, I don't fucking know, man. Where do kids find anything on YouTube? I'm sure she saw somebody being like, listen how satisfying this is. And then fucking she just like, I want that. I want to be cool. Give me that. Give me the fame of the bubble pops.
Me and my wife have had a very interesting conversation over the last 24 hours. And I'd like to share it with you because
please.
I feel like it's something that's quite common, and that's Minecraft, right? I joined a party with my two boys over in Wrexham and with Timmy, and we all played Minecraft together, right? It was quite fun, and I could leave Timmy playing with Leon and Alfie. It was nice, and my wife was like, I don't really want him playing Minecraft, and I was like, why? What's the problem? What's the issue? And I thought it was an issue with sort of maybe there's something wrong with the game, maybe it's dangerous, whatever. And she was like, no, it's just a bit obsessive, isn't it? I was like, I kind of thought about it quite a bit actually, because I think she's got a point there. It is an addictive game, but the way I see it is, I built a house and my biggest grand gold bridge. I mean, Timmy were building today. It's Lego, man. That game is Lego for the screen, and I like it, but I kind of get where she's coming from. I don't want my kid to prioritize that over anything else. You know what I mean?
Well, no, but as long as you set outlines, like my son knows that if he wants to continue playing with the Switch, he needs to get his schoolwork done. He needs to do certain things. And when there's opportunities to do other things, it's not like he's like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do the Switch. But there's not a lot going on right now. So the fact that he's playing extra video games isn't bad. Plus, he loves it. He's good at it. They already admitted that it teaches really good hand-eye coordination. So, I mean, there's so many benefits, the mental like feeling of like accomplishing something that you get from playing a video game. There's a lot good from it. Also, like with the Lego connections, very, very good to make because it's true. And the benefit of it is you don't have to step on those fuckers in the middle of the night. So, I mean, like, I understand what Kaz is saying, and she's a good parent for bringing that up, but I would disagree with that all day. I feel like kids should be able to play video games as long as it's not overtaking the other aspects of their life, and they're just, and don't get me wrong, I'm a dad who lets his kid play some video games, but at the same point in time, he also says all the time, I want to do this. I want to make games. I want to do this. And I'm like, all right, you know what? Then have at it, boy.
I feel it's going to be a progression for a kid that's 6 years old. It's kind of like this is what's going to happen. And he already does taekwondo. He does Spanish lessons. He can now stand on his head. He's great at school. He's great. So it's good for him to have that mental holiday. I think that's really important for most kids. But listen, we need to start rounding this episode up. We've been going for quite a bit. Did you see on social media, by the way, Jamie threw up a video that he'd ordered a T-shirt, USUK Chronicles T-shirt, which looks really cool. I'm going to buy one payday. Are you going to get one?
I wouldn't buy a USUK Chronicles one. I'd buy one for ours. And honestly, I've been thinking about getting the Where's Tom Bruno shirt. And it's funny you mention that because my kids are so obsessed with merch, right? Like all the YouTube stars sell merch. They all have merch. So like it really blew my daughter's mind to find out that I have merch because I don't talk about this stuff generally with my kids. I don't tell them that I do this. They know that daddy goes in his office and he records and he talks to Alex and he laughs and he says silly things, but they don't really care. This is not their wheelhouse. If you saw the demographics, Alex, from the stats that Jamie provided earlier, we're really popular with the ladies, 37 to 90, but we're not really popular with the kids at all. Like no kids listening to us. Maybe your kid pops up ever so often. So the fact that their daddy has merch is, kind of cool to them. So I want the Where's Tom Bruno shirt with, the whole thing, but I want to get it on a summer shirt so I can wear it to the beach.
I'm going to buy a Where's Tom Bruno shirt. I'm going to buy one.
Yeah.
I'm going to get people in school going, who's Tom Bruno?
Is he lost? Be like, well, kind of.
I saw that guy on a podcast. Yeah. So, guys, if you do want to, I think Jamie's put something on the website. If you want to order a T-shirt,
Graham, do me a favor, because if you're going to get a Where's Tom Bruno shirt, can you please take the picture of Alex? And I know there's one of you around your Monopoly board, or if you need to take a picture of the Monopoly board, put it in his hands, Graham, and make that and say, I'm on a Monopoly board, and we'll sell that in the store. I really, it's an ongoing joke long enough now that I want to buy a shirt with you.
Do you know what I should do? I should take a naked photo
of you holding the Monopoly board from your dick.
Monopoly board, just like that, just holding it like, hey, baby.
Yes, you should. I'd wear that. I don't give a fuck. I'd spend $22 on the privilege to wear your naked body on my stomach. I'd do it.
I'm in the process of once tattoo parlors open up again, I'm getting you tattooed on my body, your face.
Me?
Yeah, and Shane.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Eric
Man, that's gonna be weird because like I don't see you really in person, so it's like whatever. But Shane sees you all the time.
And I'm gonna get it on my neck, right? I'm joking.
I'm gonna get it in my face like Mike Tyson.
Yeah, just like
it. Oh my god,
guys, check out the website for a T-shirt. Make sure you buy one. If you buy one, take a picture of it, and we will suck your dick orally on the podcast. We really will.
Yeah, we totally will.
Speaking of websites, Tom,
we have a website. We definitely do. Hey guys, you should definitely go to USUKnetwork.com because we have a website and it has all of our amazing shows on it. We have links, we have videos, we have merchandise like we've been whoring, and we have the USUK Chronicles, which is Jamie Westwood and Tom Stevens. We have What's the Different podcast, this very show that we're talking on right this second with Alex Whiteley and me, Tom Bruno. We have the Weekly Bazaar with now Tom Stevens and Alex Whiteley, and joined by other podcasting guests where they tell the craziest and wackiest news that comes around the globe. And we also have Wednesday Night Live, which is not copyrighted because we did not steal it from Saturday Night Live, but it's a really impromptu show where we have, some of the USUK crew come down and just have a chat like we used to on Thorskin. It's a lot of fun. So you should definitely go there and check it out. And guess what? This website, when you look at it and you see how amazing and how functional and how fluid it runs, it's made by the amazing people at Web Orchard. These guys know how to build a website. Now, I can tell you from experience, I've tried to go to different like website generating pages, and it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of work, and it doesn't always go the way. And then everyone starts to look like one another's. Well, guess what? If you get yourselves a professional like the people over at Web Orchard, they are going to make you an amazing looking website that is just has all the opportunity and possibilities. So if you make something, if you want to start your own OnlyFans, and I don't want to join OnlyFans, I want to make my own website because it's going to produce more money, then guess what? Reach out to the people at Web Orchard. They don't judge. They don't care what your website is. I mean, they prefer it not be something horrible, but they're going to make you an amazing and functional website. So definitely go to weborchard.com.
Yes, please do. Beautifully put, Tom. Beautifully put. Thanks. I couldn't have put it better myself. But yeah, we best get out of here because we've been doing this for a while now. Thank you so much, Dave Courteen, for coming on our show earlier. It was great speaking to you again. When the world opens, we will be there. We'll be there to help you out and get things back to business. Make sure you subscribe. Look, there's a button there. Not a button, but there's a reminder there. This side, Tom. This side.
Well, I'm doing it that side, but it's mirror reverse, so it looks like it's the other side to you. Yeah, it's technology, Alex. Get with it.
Right. This has been What's the Difference podcast. I've been Alex Whiteley.
And I'm Tom Bruno.
Catch us next week, guys. See you later. Peace out.